Hello, my name is Doron Ellen Beldotan in Svat in Israel, and I'm very excited to report something to you. My last video was an urgent request to the United States government particularly, and also investigators who have ties with law enforcement in the United States, to look into the Israeli judicial system. And I am very happy to report that Bezrat Hashem, and with your help too, with God's help and with your help, that happened. When we pray to Hashem from a place of complete honesty and without fear, and we don't put any interference on the line with this one's name and that one's name, we just pray directly to Hashem, the response is very, very powerful, very, very immediate, and very, very apparent. So my suggestion to you is not to busy up the line with this one's name and that one's name. If you have something to say to Hashem, just say it straight. A man who was arrested in Israel and questioned under, it's called ba'azhara here. It's a kind of questioning where you're told especially that you can't lie to the police, which I don't understand that, because I don't know, are you ever supposed to lie to the police if you've been questioned? I don't know. Anyway, it's a special kind of questioning, and I don't know the term for it. If you know what it's called in English, please write it in the comments so I'll know. The man's name is Ephraim Naveh, affectionately known as Effie, not Efu, Effie. He is the head of the Lawyers Association. If that were not high enough up the hierarchy for you, he's even more powerful in Israel than would be his counterpart in the United States. The process for choosing judges in Israel, which has been described as a process less democratic than that of Iran. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Involves a committee, a small committee of people who choose who the judges are going to be in secret meetings behind closed doors. And Ephraim Neveh, Esquire, is one of those people. He's on that committee which chooses the judges. I think there are 5 people on that committee. Really like a handful of people. And so when he goes to any kind of function, you know, there are a lot of like really disgusting slurping noises that go on there. Anybody who wants to be a judge has to suck up to him, frankly. That's the way it is. Not just to him. I mean, there's always Aharon Sandak. I mean, Aharon Barak. He's at the top of this, in Israel anyway. I said Aaron Sadak because Sandak is the godfather. I guess it's originally from Greek and we use it in Hebrew. At any rate, he was detained at Ben Gurion Airport, our friend Ephraim Naveh. He was accompanied by a female. No details about her have been disclosed. He was trying to get her into the country without a passport. They say that she's Israeli. Why she has no passport, I do not know. No one, you know, who's not connected knows this. I don't know her age. I don't know anything about her. But he was detained and he was pulled in for questioning. He himself has said in an interview that with the papers are initially reported is that he was arrested for something involving his private life. I'm not speculating, but that's what it said. He subsequently did an interview in which he said that what happened is connected to the fact that he's going through a very ugly divorce, the details of which are under court order to be hushed and not talked about. But he said it's a nasty divorce, and this is somehow related to that. And he didn't want to go into details, and he was asking the public not to speculate, and I think that that's only fair. I'm not speculating either, I'm just telling you what happened. It is good that someone of the stature of Ephraim Neveh knows what it's like to be delivered over to the Inquisition of the family court here in Israel. And it's not unusual that they put court orders, injunctions for silence on their proceedings. The proceedings go on behind closed doors. They say that they do this for the welfare of the children. Not always. So he knows what it's like now to be fed over to that Inquisition. Routinely, people are just fed into a meat grinder, and a number of parents, mothers and fathers alike, have committed suicide after being processed through that court. Because it is not forbidden, it's not encouraged, but it's not forbidden to get divorces, the fact that the divorce proceedings here are so very painful and protracted and expensive and just do everything they can to make it absolutely miserable for everyone concerned, tells me that they're working off a Vatican protocol. This looks to me very much like the Vatican idea of divorce, where if somebody asks for divorce, they should be punished just for having asked for the divorce. And this also dovetails with what I told you I heard at a meeting of jurists when the law faculty here in Tzfat opened, in which one of the professors bragged that the Jesuits had asked him to come to the Vatican as an advisor. So there is no question about the fact that there are connections between our court system and the Roman Curia. And those connections, if they exist, should be looked into. And any connections that might exist, and people who are counterparts of other people should be looked into. With the Kavanaugh circus, I didn't watch most of it. I couldn't. It was just too painful to watch. We can see that what goes on the courts is just a travesty. And I don't know whether Kavanaugh is a good person or a bad person. I don't know anything about him. This is the first time I've ever seen him or heard his name. I have no opinion about the man. But the proceedings were just what we call in Yiddish a shanda, just a travesty, a humiliation, a shame, really a shame. Nobody should ever be put over the coals like that. I'm not making any comments about the woman who accused him either, neither do I know anything about her. I have my own opinions, but they're just opinions. and I don't see any reason to express them. But these kinds of goings-on must not happen in the courts. On the other hand, when you have these secret proceedings of how judges are chosen, as we have in Israel, other abuses can happen. Our court systems are clearly contaminated. That's the word. They're contaminated with corruption. And one has no idea of whether or not the people who are becoming judges are fit to be judges. You know, they look kind of respectable, and they've learned how to project an aura of intimidation. But does that mean they're meant to be judges? On the last video that I made, someone made a comment that I don't usually say amen to anything but like Jewish prayers. This guy deserved an amen. He said, no one should become a judge unless that person had a criminal background and was fully rehabilitated. I say amen. Unless somebody has gone through some kind of a trauma, some kind of a rehabilitation, where they know what it's like to be in the dregs and reconstruct yourself, they have no business being a judge. And I would make another recommendation, something that I've thought about for a number of years. Within our communities, we all know people who are of sterling character. And very often these people have had some kind of trouble that they built themselves up from. And we respect them. We know them. We know that their judgment would be very balanced and very understanding by dint of the fact that they have comprehensive experience of the whole range of human experience, having gone from some kind of a depth to a very respectable height. And I think that communities should choose these people directly as candidates for being judges. I don't think that people should judge in their own communities, because there might be a question of whether or not someone's opinion would be somehow prejudiced or somehow I don't know how to say that thing. I'm losing my English. Somehow influenced, somehow skewed. That's it. Somehow skewed because they're in their own community, and they might not want to ruin friendships, or they might not, you know, they may be somehow inhibited about judging in their own communities. So I think that people who are highly respected in their own communities should be sent to other communities to judge there. And I think that all of the judges everywhere should be people whose own communities know them. This is the way that the Hebrew judges used to be chosen, by the way. They didn't just, you know, show up one day, you know, I'm from a family, I've got money, I've got education. And these were all homegrown people who everybody in their community knew from the time they were born, saw how they behaved on an everyday basis, what their family lives were like, what their business interactions were like, how they treated people, how they comported themselves. And these people were made judges on the basis of the community's respect for them. In those days, people did judge in their own communities because traveling didn't allow people to be easily relocated. There were peripatetics, of course, in those days, but it was harder to travel. Today, there's no problem about somebody going from, I don't know, New Hampshire to West Virginia to work, or certainly not from Kiryat Shmona to go to work in Eilat. And that's my suggestion for who should be judges. Thank you for listening. I think that this development of Ephraim Neveh, having the experience of knowing what it's like to be questioned as somebody of suspicion, who has the experience of knowing what it's like to be fed into the meat grinder of the divorce courts, the family courts here in Israel, that he knows what that feels like on his own flesh, is very, very important. And needless to say, the question of why he was bringing somebody into Ben Gurion Airport, allegedly with the intention of trying to get that person through the airport security without presenting a passport, has to be looked into. I don't think it's a coincidence that this happened during Red October, and I think that it's a part of the whole mosaic of what's happening, which I'm sharing with you to help contribute something to completing the picture, the international picture, and eventually we'll have a beautiful mosaic of humanity to show for it. Thank you for listening.